right, guys, we are on to section 6.2, factoring. Okay, so factoring's kind of the reversal of FOILing. Okay, so now we've got to ask ourselves, how do we make x squared? What times what makes x squared? Okay, well, the only thing that makes x squared is x times x. Remember, in our factoring, those were our first items. So if we make, you will come in and make pods, okay? So you're looking at this first term. What times what makes x squared? And as we said over here, it's x times x. So you get x and x. Now the next question is, what signs go behind the x's? What makes a plus? So a plus is made with either plus plus or minus minus, okay? Because a negative times a negative makes a plus. And so if it's a plus plus, you go and look here, and this tells us they're both going to be plus plus, okay? Now we need to know how to make 27. How do we make 27? What are our factors of 27? Well, there's 1 and 27. There's 3 and 9, and that's the extent of it. So when I factor, I typically go for the pair that's the closest together. So I will put in 3 plus 9, and I will FOIL this out. So I'll have x times x, which is x squared. Then I'll have x times 9, which is plus 9x. Then I'll have 3x, 3 times x, which is 3x, plus 3 times 9, which is 27. Make sure you actually check this. What is 9 plus 3? That is my 12x. So that checks. So this would be your solution set. Let's go look at another problem. All right, here again, when you factor, you're going to start off with 2 sets of pods. What makes x squared? Well, what times what is x squared? X and x. How? Now I'm going to go look at this minus sign. How do I make a minus sign? Well, it's either a positive times a negative or a negative times a positive. Okay, and I'm just going to pick. Doesn't matter, I'm going to pick. So I'm going to put a plus and a minus. Then I have to look at my factors of 3. I have 1 and 3. Those are my only factors of 3. So I'm going to come in, put 1 and 3 in. I'm going to FOIL. So that gives me x squared. X times minus 3 gives me minus 3x. 1 times x gives me plus x. And then 1 times negative 3 gives me minus 3. When I combine those two, that gives me a minus 2x. And when I have a minus 2x, let's go look. I needed a plus 2x. So I made a mistake somewhere. And really all I have to do is change my signs. So this here needs to be a minus sign, and the other one needs to be a plus. So this would become plus 3x, and this down here is minus x, giving me a positive 2x. Okay, so if you get the right number but the wrong sign of the number, you should be so excited, because all you have to do is change the signs up here. So it's not too big of a deal. All right, let's look at this one. So again, I'm going to come in, I'm going to make my pods. Just because there's 2 variables doesn't mean anything has really changed. How do I make x squared? Well, it's x and x. All right, how do I make a plus? It's either plus plus or minus minus. And I go here and I look here, and that makes it a minus minus. All right, how do I make y squared? Well, it's y and y. But I don't just have y squared back there. I also have a 10. So how do I make 10? So it's either 1 and 10 or 2 and 5. Okay, and I'm going to try 2 and 5 because they're closer together. All right, so now I'm going to test. So x times x is x squared, and then x times 5y gives me minus 5xy, and negative 2y times x gives me minus 2xy, And then I would have negative 2y times negative 5y, which gives me a plus 10y squared. I combine these, and that gives me minus 7xy. Okay, so that looks exactly like above. All's good. All right, let's look here. All right, so here we go. I have my pods. What makes x squared? Well, x times x. Then I come here, I have a plus. It's either going to be plus plus or minus minus, and it tells me plus plus. So I'm going to do plus and plus. Okay, how to make 12? 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. Okay, here I go. I'm going to start with my 3 and my 4, and I'm going to FOIL, so I'm going to get x squared plus 4x plus 3x plus 12. All right, so I've got my x squared and I've got my 12, but this sums up to be 7x. That's not any good. I could change the 3 and the 4 around, so this would become a 3 and this would become a 4, which is still 7. So my 3 and 4 is out. So let's try 2 and 6. So here I go, I got 2 and 6. So this 4 becomes 6x, and this 3, oops, becomes 2x. So now 6 plus 2 is 8, but that's still not 13. So 2 and 6 is out. All right, so let's try 1 and 12. So I'm going to put the 1 and the 12. This makes this 12x, and this becomes 1x, so 12 plus 1 now is 13. 13 is what I want, okay? So during this section, you are going to probably want to use an eraser. Maybe buy a spare eraser. Erasers are great. You can always just start further down, but just slowly cross them off as you come along. Now, while we've been doing the normal factoring, really what they need to state to you is the very first rule of factoring, just like in 6.1, is to pull out the greatest common factor. So here, between 2, 24, and 64, I know I have a number of 2 in common. Now I have to look at my x's. Well, this is x to the 8th, x to the 7th, and x to the 6th. X to the 6th is my lowest degree, so that's going to come out leaving me x squared plus 12x plus 32. Okay, I'm not done here. I can probably then factor this again, and I'll just carry down the 2x to the 6. So what makes x squared? Well, it's x and x. What makes this plus sign is either plus plus or minus minus, and this tells me it's plus plus. Okay, what makes 32? 1 and 32, 2 and 16, 3 doesn't go in, 4 and 8, 5 doesn't go in, 6 does not go in, 7 does not go in, and now I'm back to 8. All right, so again, I'm going to pick the 2 that are closest together. Check it out. It's at 4 and 8. I'm going to FOIL just the parentheses. So that gives me x squared plus 8x plus 4x plus 32. These combined make 12x, which I can see is what I needed back here. So I've completely factored that, which is great.